students to interact with them, to inspire them. Well, today we are all highly privileged. We are highly honored to have amidst us on this virtual platform the versatile and iconic musical artist of Assam, Joi Baruah, all the way connected with us from Mumbai. A warm and hearty welcome to you, sir, and a great pleasure and delight having you connected with us here. On this platform, I also welcome the other virtual visitors, which include our Pro Vice Chairman, Mr. Rajiv Kumar, other invited guests, our Principal, Mr. P.S. Sarkar, our dear students and their parents, and my colleagues. The basic objective of today's program is to let the young music lovers of our school get engaged in a candid chat with our esteemed guests, the eminent singer Joi Baruah, and also get inspired, encouraged and motivated by his words and of course his music. Well, a brief introduction about our guest. We all know about him, you all know about him, but still a philanthropist of a different kind with love of nature and culture. Joi Baruah was born in Big Boy, Assam to Mrs. Ranjana Barua and Mr. Rohinidhar Barua. Children, if you have heard the Jays and Rock Silhouette in Bollywood films like Dev Di, Udan, Love Ka The End, then Zindagi Milegi Na Dobara, you are experiencing a unique feature in the music and film industry, which is only and only gifted by our eminent guest, Joi Baruah. Mr. Joi Baruah calls himself an Indian Assamese artist who draws inspiration from Assamese musical stalwarts like Dr. Bhupen Hazarika, Jayanta Hazarika, etc. But he goes deeper into Assamese folklore and storytelling from Burhi Air Khadhu, that is Granny's Tales, for his unique style. And his works on legends and tribes of Assam has brought him immense accolades. He has also worked on various projects and movies in Bollywood with Anu Malik, Preetham, Shankar Ehsan Loy, Amit Trivedi, and the like. Even though he is not professionally trained, he is different enough in his insights and passions that he has made a mark for himself. He has carved a niche for himself in the world of music through his selfless contributions to the music industry. Recently, his interest has surged in environmental and sustainable aspects of the tropical rainforests in Assam, which has brought him worldwide recognition. Mr. Baruah has a mixed style incorporating elements of rock, jazz, folk, and world music. Joi Baruah was awarded the Best Debut Award in 2010 for his album Joy, Looking Out of the Window, at the Big Music Awards organized by Big 92.7 FM Guwahati. And he was also invited as a fellow at the first Inc. conference in 2010, which is a TED-affiliated multidisciplinary conference. And he was also an Inc. speaker in 2011. So on the whole, I would just like to conclude his profile by saying that Joi Baruah's voice radiates joy all around. So before we proceed further, I would like to request our principal, sir, to present his formal address. Sir, please.
Please unmute. Mr. Sarkar, please unmute.
Thank you, sir. Good evening to all present in this virtual platform. Respected Pro Vice Chairman, sir, Mr. Joi Baruah, my colleagues, and dear children. Introduction of a person requires when the person is not known to you people. And more so, Madam Meenakshi Dwara has given that profile in brief about a personality who is always trying to experiment. So it is a privilege on behalf of entire academic fraternity of DPS ONGC Nazira to welcome Mr. Joi Barua in this interaction with our students through virtual mode. Uh, Frankly speaking, individually, I am obsessed about his voice, the rhythm, and the culture Mr. Joi Barua is developing across the country. Maybe it is the beginning of his career while taking the sustainable environmental aspect, but what is inspiring to the young minds, DPS ONGC Nazira always acknowledge and admire. So, Mr. Barua, on behalf of DPS Nazira Academic Fraternity, I welcome you. I would request our Pro-Vice Chairman to share a few words uh, as he is present despite his busy schedule. So, sir, please.
Good evening. I am happy to note that ONGC Nazira DPS is conducting online classes. At the same time, you are taking care of students by way of engagement through various programs. Today's program, interactive session with an eminent personality, Joi Baruah, is one of the series. I am sure the participants will take benefit of this interactive session and they'll make full use of this. So I wish you all the best and would like to have that interactive session as long as possible. So please continue with the program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. Thank you, principals, also for presenting the welcome address. Well, to begin with, I would now like to request our guest to speak a few words on what music means to him. Over to Mr. Joi Barua, please.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very much, sir.
Okay. Thank you all for having me over this evening. And though I'm in Bombay right now, I think just speaking to all of you, Nazira, does make me a little bit homesick. You know, it does. We've been held up and locked up for a while now. We've been held up, and it's a different kind of a life. So, absolute honor to be with you. Thank you, Principal Sir, for that kind introduction. And I think what music means to me, I'm at different points of life. I think they meant one thing at one point of life, and slowly, as we grow up and we get on with life, they sometimes assume a different meaning. At one point, music was, when we were in school, music was a hobby, and it was also somewhere where the mind could escape. I grew up in Jorhat, in a small town, so it was where the mind could escape, and you could listen to like great musicians or great thinkers in a song. We grew up listening to amazing artists like you had quoted, like Bhupen Hazarika or his brother, or probably to fusion artists like L. Subramaniam, Ravi Shankar, and obviously to the artists across the world, global artists. So when in school, it's like almost when you get into literature, it's like reading Shakespeare. You're opening up to a different culture. You learn about things from a different land, a different continent, a different time, a different place. So many different things you learn from music. That was school. When you're in college, I think it also becomes part of your identity. That okay, this guy sings. It's the part of growing up process. You know, every at each level, I think it assumes a different identity along with what you do. So in college, it became part of my identity that this is Joy who sings, and he sings in such and such a way, and these are the artists he sings. I was attached to other identities. I hope I make meaning. I see a lot of young kids here, but I hope to those who understand me, I hope I'm making meaning. In school, it was like almost like reading Shakespeare or William Blake, or maybe reading the National Geographic. You listen to a French band, you understand France. You listen to an American band, you have a sense of America. You listen to a British band, you have a sense of London and history. In college, it was more about being associated with this kind of music, and music became my identity because I never learned music, so it was a different time. College was identity, then was the point of taking it up as a career, where initially that was not the thought. It was a different thought of what I would do with my life, but I realized that music was the only thing I truly loved. So after college, music probably became a destination, that this is where I need to get. I need to do music. I need to sing. I need to be with my guitar. I need to be with my piano. It became a destination that I need to be here as a musician. I need to be counted. I think those were the three stages, and right now I'm at a stage of what music can do. What is there beyond the song and beyond the mic? It is expected that a musician like us would make songs which people would like and people would enjoy. You listen to our songs on a phone, you listen to us on a music system in your car. So there's an experience we give you. Or we come to a concert and you all have a good time. You listen to what we have to say. You also understand different cultures of where Joi Baruah is coming from. But that is your side of the fence right now. But for now, me right now, I think is music. What can music do? Can I have people around me waking up to different situations, to different realities of what we are going through? Can I uplift a neighborhood? Can I uplift my audience? Can I tell them something that they need knowing? Can I open up their eyes? Can I take them to a place where they haven't been? Can I make them feel something they haven't felt? So I think that is where I am with music right now, of what my music can do and my relationship with music. But I think inherent in all this, throughout, if we take one common notion that has been consistent from the time I listened to music till now, I think it has been like a love story. If the music is almost somebody, it's like somebody I love. So, and when it's somebody I love, there is no compromise to it. It's a very pure love story. It's my first and only love. It doesn't matter what the world is thinking of it, about it, and with it. It doesn't matter what the world says about it, but I need to love something, and I think I'm glad that I found music before other things. I think that is the best way I can answer you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. So it seems you had a love affair with music. Music being your first love, I would say. You had a love affair with music. Right.
Yeah, I do.
Thank you so much, sir. Well, in the course of history itself, music is the greatest creation of mankind, I would say. And creativity in the pure and undiluted form probably is the true definition of music. Well, sir, now to move forward, we could, could we just listen to little bit of your, any of your personal favorites, just little bit, before we go on to the chit chat with the kids, just a little bit.
Okay, let me just. Okay, I hope you hear me properly. I'm just switching on my.
You're very audible, system. Sir. So you're very clear and very much audible, so no problem.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, I'll just play my piano. Let me know if I'm clear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
is one of the songs that really framed my mind as a musician when I was in school. I will never forget the first time I heard this song. This is in English. This is a John Lennon song, and it's one of the best songs that's ever written. But imagine there's no weather. It's easy if you try. No head below her, above us, no the sky. Imagine all the people living life in freedom. Imagine there's no country. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. And no religion too. Imagine all the people sharing life in freedom. You may say I'm a but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us. Oh, and the world will be one. This was one of my earliest memories of songs. Thank you. I can see.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Well, sir, now I think we will move on to the chit chat show with you of our little kids. So first, I would like to invite, just a minute, I would like to invite your young kid, Ashnil Gogoi, Ashnil Fukon, to put a question to you. Ashnil, please. Ashnil, please unmute and please switch on the camera. Ashnil Fukon.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, please.
Good evening, sir. Good
Thank you,
evening, sir. Good evening, sir. I am actually a student of class 3. Sir, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Sir, kindly tell us as to how your childhood was different from the kind childhood that we all have today.
So if
Okay.
so is it audible to you? Was the question?
Not very. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I'll just repeat, sir.
Yeah.
Actually, let's ask you the question. Kindly tell us as to how your childhood was different from the kind of childhood that we all have today. Because he is a young kid of class 2, so he wants to know how was your childhood and how.
Can you have Ashley mute the mic? I cannot hear. There are noises coming. Can
Please
Ashley
mute.
mute? Yeah. Can you repeat the question now?
Yeah, sure, sir. He wants to ask you, sir, kindly tell us as to how your childhood was different from the kind of childhood that we all have today.
Okay.
That was his
I
question.
think our lives were simpler and less hectic. I think, and I think we had a lot of time with nature. I think the onset of the digital age with computers, etc., has taken out a lot of time from children. I think there was a lot of time when we were growing around, we played outdoors. We had a lot of time in the greens, in the greenery. There was a lot of time to appreciate nature for what it was, and reading books about things. Also, it was simpler times. Now you have so many options available, and in terms of TV channels, in terms of the internet. But I think the biggest difference between then and now, I think the biggest difference is, for example, yesterday, I in the past few days, I've been reading up a bit about ancient Indian poetry. So I was reading up about Kalidas, and then I ventured on how to do. I don't know Sanskrit. Then I was doing a little bit of research on Kalidas. So I hope, Ashila, I answer your question. So I was reading up a bit of Kalidas, and I didn't know where to go. So I was reading about Meghadut. So these were poetry. This was poetry written before the 4th century, before the 5th century, but it's an unclear date. So I researched, and finally I went to the Harvard library on my laptop. So I was in the Harvard library reading a manuscript and a book that were probably written in the 19th century, in the 1800s. So the access to great knowledge, that whole distance has collapsed. That whole distance has come down. I hope the people are understanding this. These young students. I hope my language is not too complicated. In our times, this was unthinkable. If I wanted to go to Harvard or MIT, the good colleges, that is, in my time, I would have to wait till I was in class 12, do a qualifying exam, get a visa, get sponsorship, and go to the US, and then get into the library. So yesterday, a library text in the Harvard Business School was available to me on my laptop and in the audio format. And I was reading a book and a poem which was written in the 4th century. And I was reading translations which were written in the 18th century. Can you beat that? So times have really changed. I think the best of information and the best of knowledge is also available at your fingertips. I think that is what the young generation and guys like you should really capitalize on. Whether you want to learn music, or you want to learn about the planet, or you want to learn about fellow human beings, I think the best parts of education are available at your fingertips right now. I think in that way, the world has truly changed. I think you're not deprived of knowledge. It's like almost like now, comparatively, I think in terms of knowledge, if I have to make a comparison statement, I think we were deprived of sunlight. If there is a comparison I need to make. But the difference is so huge right now. So I think I hope I tried to address your question in this way. I think the access to different things, the right to knowledge, the access to knowledge and beautiful things is so much more easier. It does make life so much more easier that way, in understanding of what you have to do. Ours were very different times. There were not too many options. We had to go to the books. We still go to the books, but the visual option wasn't there. The learning options, I grew up in Jorhat. When I wanted to learn the piano, there were no piano teachers. When I wanted to learn the music, there were no piano music teachers for the stuff I wanted to sing. There was nobody to teach me guitar. There was nobody to teach me piano. If I wanted to read Kalidas at that point, there was no text available. So I think you are growing up in amazing, fortunate times, and with the kind of the system I hear in the school that they are trying to connect you to us, these are huge differences. I think you'll grow up and realize what I'm saying. But I hope I have answered your question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Yeah, it's very nice. Today we have the digital learners, rather than children learning from nature, outside or outdoors. So that's very good, sir. Very well said, sir. Very well answered, sir. Next, I would like to invite our student Jyoti Prachurya Saikia to put a question to our guest. Jyoti Prachurya Saikia. Please unmute and please put on your video.
Certainly, sir. Myself, Mr. Satya. So, my question is, earlier or probably when you were a kid, I don't think many people supported music as a career. But what kind of inspiration and support did you receive from whom to establish yourself as such an accomplished singer?
Okay. I think this is the most important question. What kind of support did
Yeah.
we
So
receive?
do I need to repeat the question, sir?
No, I heard this one as to what kind of support I received from home.
Okay. Yes,
I
sir.
think
Yes.
I heard this one.
Very good, sir.
Yeah. So this is the tricky part, because when we were growing up, the options of other careers or other lives weren't as meaningful. There weren't too many options. And just a second. And it was left to us to find a way through the darkness. So though my parents introduced me to good music, they were not very supportive of the fact that I would do music later. It was never encouraged. Though I was good at music, I naturally took up to music. But I would say my school, actually, my principal, my teachers, they really encouraged me. Because I think that's what teachers see. They see what you're good for and what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. So my principal, immediately she took a liking to me. I grew up in a Catholic school in Jorhat, Carmel School. So we learned gospel hymns, other music. So so it was very different. In school, I was encouraged to sing and get into other things, whereas at home I wasn't. And I don't blame anybody right now, because those are different times. But it wasn't that easy to get into music, or there wasn't encouragement. And also because of the fact that sitting in Jorhat, one couldn't see as to what were the options available. So for a parent, it was a very hard decision to make. It still is, but it was harder then. It's a very hard decision to make on whether to tell my son or daughter to sing, even though he has got the talent or the aptitude for it. So I also want you guys to know how lucky you are that your parents encourage you, your school encourages you. There are things that you can see. You can find out how you stand with the rest of the world when you sing. We didn't have none. It was like walking down a dark alley of what to do. But that answers the question of what the system was. But if you personally ask me, the only thing that kept me going was the love affair with music. It was something that I was not willing to let go. I was in such a deep state of love with music. I was not willing to let go. So I think that is what helped me in getting to be a musician. I think that's what it is actually about it.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I understand. I also believe that, yes, teachers are the facilitators of the children to make them go ahead in life. Well, now I would invite Arindam Manoj Fukan to put your question to sir. Arindam Manoj Fukan, please.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, sir.
Hi, Arindam.
Hi, sir. I am Arindam of class 8. So, sir, my question is divided into 3 segments. So, I will ask you each separately.
Okay. Wow.
So, the first one is, what was your aim in your life when you were a child?
Okay, that's your first question.
Yeah.
Okay. If child meaning, if you mean like child, like
Yeah,
class 3 and 4. Yeah. I think I wanted to be an Air Force pilot. Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of boys want to fly. Actually, that seems to be the resident, career option for people, as boys, especially as they're growing up. Everybody wants to fly. So that was
Yes.
mine too.
Sir, my second question is, when did you seriously aim for pursuing the career of music?
Good question. Because the point is, though I loved music from as far as I remember going back in time, I didn't know what I would do with it. Because I'll tell you why. Because we grew up on Assamese music and international music. We never grew up in Bollywood in the Assam of those times. It was a different Assam. I grew up with Bhupen Hazarika, Jayanta Hazarika, and I grew up with like a lot of Western music. So though I wanted to do music, I didn't know how to do it. So after my graduation, I was actually trying to do other things in Delhi. But to make a long answer short, what I'll tell you is I was always a good student. But only after graduation is when my career graph started going down. Because I was doing small things which I was not enjoying. I started failing. And when I started failing, I didn't know what to do. So after 3-4 years, I really had to take a call. I said, do I have to fail at something that I don't like, or maybe I try something that I like? You know, that was the time I spoke to a couple of friends, and I decided to give music a try in Bombay. So it's only on failing that I decided to do music, because somehow in my mind I didn't know what to do with the music that I wanted to do. If you have heard my music, it's still a little different. I'm not very commercial. I'm not art also. My music is different. So I didn't know how to take it ahead. So I was left in some confusion till after my graduation. So after 3 years of kind of trying different things and slowly failing, and failing for the first time in my life, I said maybe music is something for me. So I hope I've answered your question. Yeah.
Yes. My third question is that what do you consider to be a turning point in your music career?
I think there are a lot of things. I think the fact that I came to Bombay, uh, the fact that I came to Bombay, I will tell you. Actually, you know, it's like luck favors the brave. When your preparedness meets opportunity, number one, and also how well you've trained yourself. So when I came to Bombay, I was very good at what I was good at what I knew. If I knew Bhupen Hazarika, I knew his songs inside out. If I knew a Jayanta Hazarika, I knew his songs very well. If I knew my Western music, I knew it very well. I knew my genres. So when I was auditioning in Bombay, so there were actually times when I would sing for 1.5 hours at the auditions, because people love to hear that I brought in a whole different thing. Even in the auditions, they knew there was somebody very different who has come. It's not that, okay, you shut up. And what happened is that the only thing I didn't sing in Bombay was Hindi, because probably I'm the only artist who came to Bombay without knowing a Hindi song. I'm the only one, believe me, because I didn't know one Hindi song. But whatever I got to Bombay, everything was new for them. They had never heard Jayanta Hazarika before. They had never heard somebody sing Bhupen Hazarika with a guitar and in a different way. They had never heard somebody sing Eagles or blues that way. So it was like a completely different package. So that met a lot of things, and you know, so there are a couple of things which I think were turning points. But I think the main thing was that I was ready to meet every opportunity.
That's good, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Arun.
Well, sir, this answer of yours carries the message also, I strongly feel that whatever you do, you have to be the best version of yourself in whatever you do in life. You have to give the best, and you have to be the best version of your life. Yeah, well, sir.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Now I invite, we have Akanksha Kakoti with a question for you. Akanksha Kakoti, please.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Akanksha.
So, sir, my question is, we have come to know that your career as a singer had begun with singing of advertising jingles. So, sir, how difficult was it for you to get a chance in playback singer?
Actually, it was not difficult. You see, playback singing in Bollywood is basically Hindi singing. So when I came to Bombay, I wasn't singing in Hindi. So you have to understand that your question has two perspectives. Whether it is just to somebody who's coming to Bombay, or is it to Joi Barua? Because as a person, I didn't know Hindi. So playback singing wasn't my ambition. When I came to Bombay, I just wanted to work in the music industry. You know what I mean? Anyhow, anywhere. So singing in playback or movies or singing for a Shah Rukh Khan, it was never my deal. It still is not. I just wanted to enter the world of music and figure out what I have to do. So the point is, I got work in the Bombay film industry in 2 weeks. And advertising is a whole different thing. Advertising, when you sing for advertising, actually, those are the new age music gurus. What cannot happen in Bollywood happens in advertising. Advertising is a little ahead of Bollywood in terms of music. So actually, people who are heavy in the advertising circuit, they come into Bollywood. Bollywood people cannot get to advertising because the trends are different. First advertising comes, then Bollywood comes. The music that is tried in advertising comes to Bollywood. So I was part of advertising. I already knew the way these guys would come into Bollywood. But having said that, I didn't have a job. I said, okay, let me earn something, let me survive. So I came to Bombay to be part of the music industry, advertising, remixes, whatever it is. And then to figure out how I could bring more meaning into my life with music. The purpose of coming to Bombay was never getting into a playback singing thing. I hope I'm not confusing you. I hope I'm telling you what I have to tell you.
Yes, sir.
So,
Thank you so much.
yeah,
Sir.
so, and even, see, the point is I never grew up with Bollywood movies. So my idea of singing is never singing playback. People call me to sing and all, that's what I do. I compose music and all. But my idea of singing is not just to sing for a Shah Rukh Khan or a Ranbir Kapoor, you know what I mean? My idea of singing is singing about things I believe in. Half of my work is Bombay, half is everything else. So I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Sir, personally, we would like to, one more thing we would like to know that whenever it's the time for Bihu, Bohag Bihu in Assam, a lot of singers, they perform on the stage because a lot of Bihu functions take place. So why is it, maybe know why we don't see you on the stage during the Bihu days? When we have the New Year, Assamese New Year coming in, but we never see you on the stages of Assam, nowhere. Although people, they want you probably, and probably you receive invitations also, but then we never get to see you on the stage during Bihu time. So may I maybe know the reason for that, sir?
Actually, I'm the only artist you'll not see on a Bihu stage. I'll tell you why. Because
Yes.
because as I kept on learning music, in terms of vocals and how you sing. So the type of singing we do, it involves a different kind of training. It is more laid on Western technique and Western training in terms of the technique we use for singing. Bihu is folk. So these are very two different techniques of the voice. It's as simple as that. And to make it simple for you, I would say if you're standing 100 meters from a person who's holding a racket, you would not know whether he's holding a tennis racket or a badminton racket. You would not even know the sport. But when you only get close, you would know what the sport is. It's the same thing. People who are watching from a distance, they don't know the difference between the technique we use, which is more like a Western-oriented technique, and folk techniques. These are very different techniques. So the point is, I knew from an early point that my technique was very different. I didn't want to go into the folk technique because I wanted to sing a different sort of songs first. I have kept my discipline that way. And the two techniques cannot be mixed. It's like somebody playing badminton just because he's holding a racket cannot play tennis, and vice versa. In India, we have these misconceptions, but in the West, they don't do it. With proper training, you become one type of a singer. So someday if I decide to sing folk, I will sing folk properly. And the other thing, these are so physically they are very different techniques of singing. So if there's any student out here who thinks that he can sing a pop rock and he can sing a folk, I think, though nothing is a mistake, but in terms of technique, you will be making a big mistake that could spoil voices later on. That is the one, since you're asking me the question, I gave you this one point where people have to be very careful. And secondly, Bihu is such a folk tradition. I live in Bombay. I think I'll have to live a very different kind of life to sing Bihu actually. I don't want to suddenly come from Bombay, do Bihu, go back. That's not my life. If I sing folk songs, I think I'll live a very different life. I consider myself as like a contemporary urban artist. Really. My music is like a little contemporary. I live in an urban space. My music reflects things from urban spaces. Though I sing from folklore. But folk singing is a completely different thing. Folklore and folk singing are not the same things. folk has a different tradition, and that is what I want to respect. And probably that is the point I want to make, that I sing on stage with guitars, with big guitars and distorted guitars, big stadiums. So that is the message I want to give, that you don't do like this. You is a whole different thing. It requires a different discipline, a different respect, a different kind of life. I think those are the reasons you don't see me on Bihu stages.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Now I would like to invite our student Debangi Kaushik to put a question to you. Debangi Kaushik, please. Debangi, are you there?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
Debangi's sister. Yeah, yes, yes.
Good evening, sir. I am Devangi Kaushik from class 6. Sir, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please.
So your song Icon by Icon was a big hit in 2010, and even to this date, people enjoy that song of yours. What was the inspiration behind that song? So I would also request you to sing a few lines of that song. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Icon Bicon is basically a generic name for two small girls. So it is basically looking back in time when all of us as little children used to play bridges and trains, and Along Dolong Khela, those were things we go back in childhood when all of us used to play bridges and trains. So the inspiration behind Icon Bicon was the song begins in a nostalgic setting when we look back at life, and we remember how you used to play those games and what happened to us. And then we cut to now, where we are now, and that we are kind of lost in urban cities. That maybe we left the life that was, and we've come to life that is now. And maybe we have lost ourselves in the urban lights. And to make a more specific point of view, growing up in Jorhat, because Jorhat, there was, the skies, the evenings would come in early. You're from Upper Assam. The sunset would be early. So we always wanted to go to a place where the evenings would never end, where there would always be light, street lights would be on. So this is what Bombay is. We are in Bombay. But then you figure out that you lose yourself in this whole urban maze. So that is what Icon Bicon is. And just another technical point, if I have to tell you, is that when you listen to the bass, it sounds like a dance song. So it's actually like entering a nightclub. All of us who come from humble, small places, it's like entering a nightclub, watching people dance, different lights, and then you lose yourself in the nightclub. So that is what actually Icon Bicon means, and that is where the song came from. So I'll just sing 1-2 lines from there. Along Dolong Khela Dikho Uki Mora Khari Pati Icon Bicon Jai Roda Tanguti Khela Sorai Kete Pamora Lukai Joi Icon Bicon Jai Kimanula Kimanusa Kini Uluka Kula Akar Kula Pota Kini Uluka Eti Akot Toy Aroy Undo Bukat Stop Toy Ukon Hidoy
Thank you, sir, for answering my question.
Thank you so much, sir. Beautiful rendition of the song Icon Icon. Now I invite Swastika Roy Sharma Swastika Roy put the question to sir. So Swastika Roy Sharma, she is a student of class 8, and her question was, sir, nowadays we see a lot of proficient singers without any formal training in music. Unlike earlier times when belonging to the gharana of music was considered very, very important. So how far do you think belonging to a gharana is important for a singer?
I think any kind of training is very important sometimes, but it is like education. That's a different subject. It's like what education does to you and what it doesn't do to you. So same goes to training. But I would like to clear one doubt. That is, by gharana you mean classical. So it's like what sort of training is essential is a so that's a different question, and that's a different subject. Is classical training really necessary, or is it not necessary? What sort of training is necessary? Is it in the West, where teachings of music are more varied and have more distribution over different ideas, you find different kinds of training, and that's important. So gharana, when you say gharana, you are talking of classical music. So in the West, you're open, everything is open to you, but you understand what you have to take a little while ago. In a little while, you may start learning classical, or you may start learning jazz, or you may learn other things. So the point is, classical music helps you in a different way, but just to go back to classical music for the sake of training doesn't make sense. So this is a bigger question. It's a good question. Whether training makes a difference, it does. But what sort of training is something, it's like a bigger discussion. That is something I cannot address within the ambit of this. I cannot address it within this discussion. But the point is, training does make a difference, but whether classical training makes a difference is something I won't be able to say. And the second thing is, I myself have received no training, so I won't be qualified to say whether going to a gharana makes a difference. I have had no training, so life has been kind. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I think I hope Swastika, sir has answered your question and you are satisfied, right? Okay. Now I invite another student of us, Anushmita Barua. Anushmita Barua, you can put your question.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, sir. I'm Anushmita Barua of Class 8. And sir, my question for you is, you have carved a niche in the field of music. And sir, you have sang songs for albums as well as for films. Sir, how is the process or the experience of making music in both these scenarios different?
I think basically all artists and musicians, and especially we singers, who are singing a song, we are storytellers. We try to tell you a story, any story. It could be a short story, it could be a longer story, it could be an epic, it could be folklore. So as you have asked, technically between albums and films, in the movies, somebody already has the story, and you have to come and sing your part of the whole story. It's an easier job sometimes, but then also in a sense that you are not responsible for the whole story. You're not responsible for even writing your part. You're only responsible for interpreting your part. But it has got its complexities, because you need to understand why somebody has written a story like that, how the character is feeling, how the director is feeling. So there are other briefs. Because everything becomes the story. How the director wants to tell the story, how the writer has written the story, where it is set, everything becomes the story. So you need to understand a lot. When you sing for an album, like when I don't sing for too many people, unfortunately. I do very little work. I do the work I kind of get interested in. So if you speak of albums, we have to define the story. I have to know what story to say. I have to be interested in the story. My research has to be good. My telling of the story has to be convincing. So everything that happens in the movie has to happen from my side when I'm doing my song in my album. So my responsibility goes up so much more. It's essentially the same thing. And only when you can do your album well, can you probably sing a movie song better. Because then you understand the importance of understanding every part of a song. The history behind it, the culture of the song, the story of the song, the geography of the song. I hope I'm making myself clear. Otherwise, if a director tells you that this is my story, if you have not had the experience of understanding stories before, how will you understand the director? These are equal jobs. Sometimes you have lesser responsibility. That's it. But you have to be equally prepared.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering my question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we have another student of class 8, Sheikh Sahana Fariha, with a question to you, sir. Sheikh Sahana Fariha.
Good evening, sir. I am Sheikh Shahana Fariha, a student of class 8.
Hi, Sheikh Sahana.
Hello, sir. Sir, with reference to iconic songs like Teji Mola, No Jisho Ronua, and Sitiki Bagori Jai, what inspires you to compose phenomenal music on the prevailing social and environmental issues? Further, we would feel very glad if you could sing a little of any of the songs I have mentioned.
I think you see that's what I was saying. You know, you come to a point in life when you see what can music do, what can my music do. So if you talk of No Jujo Ronua, so this was around the whole our original Assamese ethnic people, the Koch people, and their whole history. When I grew up in Upper Assam, we didn't know about what was happening in Assam. You know, that has been part of my discussions right now around with whoever I talk. We learned about Mughal history. We learned who were the Cholas, Samudragupta Maurya, everything, even now. But where is our history? And when I slowly started learning, I came in touch with people, and there were things that I wanted to take forward, the things I could at least. So one of the biggest projects we did was the No Jujo Ronua around the Koch, and the Koch Rajbangshis. You know, so they were a very big kingdom, and the language of the Koches go to the beginnings of Assamese and Bengali. So though we might think they are earlier languages, but Bengali and Assamese languages have their origins in the Koch language, which was called Desi, in the early 16th century. So all this fascinated me, and the Koch people are like a silent majority within the Assamese people. So there was like a 1.5 year of overall time that we did take to do one song, which included research, understanding, coming down for recce's, traveling from Majuli to Nepal, shooting. Tezimola is likewise, it was a beautiful song, beautiful folklore story to start with, written in the early part of the last century. I felt a lot of these things had to be revisited and brought again to public focus. We always look outside when we talk of great kings. You know, even Bollywood has made an Ashoka, or whoever, you know, the other Padmavat, whatever. We have our own things. We have a Chilarai. British historians rate him as among an equal general to Napoleon. So it's equally important learning. But I think I did that song, also Tezimola and other stuff, because I was fascinated by the stories. I was and I'm still fascinated with history. So I choose to do those things. Sitiki Bagori Jai was around my friend of mine. She I think was the second youngest. She was probably the youngest Indian woman at the time to climb the Everest, and she did it on her own. So it was a song to the whole discipline of mountaineering, of discovering different things, of how your mind changes towards environment when you go to the Himalayas, when you scale the Everest. So I find these very interesting situations, stories, and like I say on the previous question, it's the story that you're trying to say. So whenever I find an interesting story, I do what I have to do to turn that into a musical thing. a song or a musical story or whatever you choose to call it. I don't think Tezimola is just a song. It became a different thing. And when we were first composing it, because I've never worked in Assam, so my friend, when he was writing this song for me in Assam, people were asking him, what you're writing? He said, I'm writing for my friend. About what? He said, Tezimola. They didn't even know how to relate it. And Tezimola is just last century literature. This is contemporary Assamese literature. We choose to forget contemporary history. Anywhere else in the world you go, you watch everybody celebrating contemporary and history and other histories. Where are we? I don't know whether it was a fight against the system, whether it was something inside that I felt that I had to say this. I had to do what I had to do. So different songs started pouring out. And so you have these very different things. These are all of these took a very different time, very different part of my life. And there were different questions and answers. I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, sir, you have truly mentioned this, that yes, Indian history doesn't feature much about the achievements of the Assamese community. Whereas, the Ahoms ruled here for more than 600 years and, like a lot of like Raj,
Koch Rajbangsis, yeah.
So they have their own very instrumental role to play actually in history. But then it's very sad that yes, it's true.
Everybody knows about the Maharani Gayatri Devi, but Maharani Gayatri Devi was Koch. She was Assamese.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
One of the most beautiful women in the world.
Yes, sir.
She was Assamese. Yeah? And Assamese people we don't know.
Yeah.
And we will go around without knowing. So it's important. And I think it's also the responsibility of us as an artist. We just cannot blame the government. We just cannot blame other people saying that we cannot blame somebody saying that. We have to tell them what to put in. What is relevant and what is not relevant for us also. And as an artist, I think I'm doing my bit.
Yes, sir. Yeah, truly said, sir. Yes, sir. Well, now I invite our student from class 11, Abhilasha Sneha, to put a question to you. Abhilasha Sneha, your question, please.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, sir.
Hi.
Sir, hi, sir. I'm Abhilasha Sneha, a student of class 11. Sir, basically, I have two questions for you. Sir, first one is, sir, what would be your valuable suggestion to me so that I can take along my academic pursuits and passion for singing together?
I think academic pursuits are very important to be an artist. You cannot become an artist without knowing of the world around you. Keep it up. I would sometimes, when I was growing up, I was a good student. I sometimes couldn't focus much because, my mind was already on the music. But I was good in maths. I was good in chemistry. I was good in English. I was good in history. I was good in geography. And all those things help. Academics helps. What will you sing about? You will sing about the world. What is the world? The world is history and geography and culture. What do you need to sing? You need to sing with language. So what is language? Language is your Assamese, Hindi and English. So academics, actually, they go hand in hand. It depends on how you see it.
Okay, sir.
And what you think. You don't become a singer just because you might be reading other books. But what I'm saying, I don't know what to say, but knowledge is very important to be an artist. Knowledge.
Yes, sir.
You have to know. You have to be cognizant of the world around you. You have to know people around you. You have to know your neighborhood. You have to know your society. You have to know your history, your geography. That will make you an artist. Only that. Academics, I think, is very important.
Okay. Sir, and second question is, sir, would you be kind enough to give me some tips from your knowledge and experience to to improve myself in singing?
What I'll do, since we don't have the time, but I'll connect to your your people in charge here, and maybe we could connect over the phone or another video call one of these days. I'll be happy to do that. That's not a problem. I think Meenakshi ma'am will be kind enough for us to connect some point, and personal questions regarding music, I'll definitely address them to you. I will do that.
Okay,
Yeah?
sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Abhilash.
Thank you so much, sir. It was not only related to music, but then your words are very uplifting for the children, and these would help them in their academics also. What I could see during the entire chat show session, I could see that you had been giving them a lot of motivation, not only for music, but for various other things. So that was basically the last question from our side. And sir, now could we listen something from you? Probably No Jujo Ronua, if you could, if you don't mind.
You want to hear the song?
A little bit of it, whatever is possible, whatever is feasible on your part, sir.
I think with the piano keyboards that I have, I think Daisy Mola would be more like it. I think that would be easier to play here. Yeah?
Sir.
I'll sing a little from that song. Is the piano clear?
Yes.
Kore kore, deje deje,
Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful rendition, sir. Thank you so much. Huge thanks to you, sir, for relenting to our request. Now it's already time for us to wind up. So just last few words from your side to the children, just as a message to the children. That's all. You have really spoken a lot about so many things. But last few words of your message to the children, and then we'll have the vote of thanks.
Thank you. I don't know what to say, but I think you're going through the best part of your lives when you're in school with friends, with growing up in that whole system of friends, love, care in your houses. Do make the best use of the time now. Learn things well, and develop a sense of empathy, and develop a sense of love for people around you, your society, your people, your neighborhoods. That I think is very, very important. Grow up, be better citizens of the planet. Think about the planet that you're going to inherit. Think about the world that you're going to inherit. Think about how you could make it a better place. There are a lot of people who don't have the kind of advantages that you do, or haven't grown up the way that you have, and probably with all the benefits of education and family and friends. Do spare them a thought. I know it's a very competitive world, but that shouldn't come at the cost of us being better people. Spare empathy, think of fellow humans, be kind to plants, to animals, and I think practice kindness to everybody around you. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your inspiring words. That's really, really inspiring and very motivating for all the children and all of us. Now I would invite Madam Mridula to offer the vote of thanks. Madam Mridula.
Madam, মই কিন্তু ভোটত থেংকছ দিয়াৰ আগতে আমাৰ দেশক এটা কথা সুধিব বিচাৰিছো মোৰ মিটাৰ যিটো ৰাইডাৰ্ছ অফ দ্য মেষ্ট যিটো 2016ত আপুনি গীতটো জিন্সনা ক্লাবৰ ঘোঁৰাখিনি ক্লাবত যে ঘোঁৰাৰে ছয় আমাৰ জিন্সনা ক্লাবৰ মই একদম জিন্সনা ক্লাবৰ ফিল্ডৰ কাষৰেই জিৰণি সেইকাৰণে মই সুধিব বিচাৰিছো আপুনি 2016ত আপোনাৰ যিটো আপুনি গীত ঘোঁৰাখিনিক লৈ ৰচিছিলে বা গীত আপুনি ইনস্পায়াৰ হৈছিলে সেই বিষয়ে অকণমান ক'ব নেকি আমাৰ ষ্টুডেণ্টক ইমান ধুনীয়া গীতটো
সেইটো হয় হয় সেইটো একচুয়ালি মোৰো নিজৰ খুব এটা প্ৰিয় গীত আমাৰ মানে আমি যোৰহাটত সৰুৰ পৰা আমি we have seen মানে আমি সৰুৰ পৰা দেখি আহিছো that Jorhat had this culture of racing horses in the club at 130 years tradition আমি সৰুৰ পৰা দেখিছো so my sister wanted to do a documentary and learn what was happening. So we found out that these were wild horses, semi-wild, semi-feral horses. They were on the islands near Jorhat. So once a year, they would be brought over to Jorhat once a year, trained for a month, and then they would be raced inside the Jorhat Gymkhana Club. They would have races for a week. So it was a very inspiring story of how horses come to a town, they entertain everybody, and then they go back and they live quietly in the island alone. I thought it was an amazing story. It also, it kind of symbolizes our lives also. So, yeah, but I think that has been a very special song, Riders of the Mist.
আপুনি দুটা লাইন গাব নেকি স্যাৰ অনুৰোধ আপোনাৰ ৰিকুৱেষ্ট আপুনি দুটা লাইন গাওক এই গীতটো
Of all the things I dream, here and there, this and that, you and me. things I dream. Oh, it's kind with and fire. My passion and obsession, pain and pleasure. I'll be looking for you. Beyond my planet, beyond this blue, of all the things I
Thank you, sir. Thank you. এতিয়াতো আমি আহি আমাৰ শেষ পৰ্যায়ত উপস্থিত হৈছোহি। গতিকে মই বিদ্যালয়ৰ তৰফৰ পৰা সকলো সন্মানীয় ব্যক্তিলৈ শলাগৰ শৰাই আগবঢ়াব বিচাৰিছো। প্ৰথমে মই আজিৰ এই ভাৰ্চুৱেল অনুষ্ঠানটিত উপস্থিত থকা সন্মানীয় জয় বৰুৱা দেৱ, বিশেষভাৱে নিমন্ত্ৰিত অতিথিসকল আৰু আমাৰ বিদ্যালয়ৰ সন্মানীয় অধ্যক্ষ মহোদয়, বিদ্যালয়ৰ তথা আজিৰ অনুষ্ঠানটিত উপস্থিত থকা প্ৰতিজন ব্যক্তিলৈ আন্তৰিক অভিনন্দন আৰু ধন্যবাদ জ্ঞাপন কৰিছো। বিশেষকৈ যিজন নিমন্ত্ৰিত শিল্পীৰ বাবে আজি আমাৰ এই অনুষ্ঠানটি জীপাল হৈ উঠিল, তেখেতলৈ মোৰ সশ্ৰদ্ধাৰে কোটি কোটি প্ৰণাম। এই দুৰ্যোগপূৰ্ণ সময়ছোৱাত এগৰাকী সংগীত শিক্ষয়িত্ৰী হিচাপে ছাত্ৰ ছাত্ৰীৰ অনলাইন ক্লাছৰ ধুমুহা আৰু ব্যস্ততাৰ মাজত সংগীতৰ দ্বাৰা কেনেদৰে ছাত্ৰ ছাত্ৰীৰ মনৰ অৱসাদ দূৰ কৰিব পাৰি তাকে ভাবি চিন্তিত হৈ পৰিছিলো। যথাসময়ত এই চিন্তা দূৰ কৰিলে আমাৰ অতি মৰমৰ সন্মানীয় জয় বৰুৱা দেৱে। তেখেতে আমাৰ নিমন্ত্ৰণ ৰক্ষা কৰি আমাক কৃতাৰ্থ কৰিলে। লগতে আমাৰ বিদ্যালয়ৰ সন্মানীয় অধ্যক্ষ মহোদয় শ্ৰীযুত পাৰ্থ সাৰথী চৰকাৰ ছাৰৰ বলিষ্ঠ পদক্ষেপৰ বাবে আজিৰ এই অনুষ্ঠানটি বাস্তৱত পৰিলক্ষিত হ'ল। গতিকে তেখেতলৈও মই শ্ৰদ্ধা আৰু ধন্যবাদ জ্ঞাপন কৰিছো। ইয়াৰ লগে লগে মই বিদ্যালয়ৰ হেডমিষ্ট্ৰেছ মীনাক্ষী বাইদেউ কথা উল্লেখ কৰিব লাগিব। তেখেতে মোক অনুষ্ঠানটি সুচাৰুৰূপে চলাই নিয়াত আমাক সকলো ধৰণৰ সহায় সহযোগিতা আগবঢ়ালে। তেখেতলৈ মোৰ অশেষ ধন্যবাদ। ইয়াৰোপৰি মোৰ সহকৰ্মী ইন্দিৰা আৰু অৰুণিমাই কৰা সহায় সহযোগিতাৰ বাবে তেখেতসকললৈও মোৰ অশেষ ধন্যবাদ থাকিল। সদৌ শেষত মই পৰোক্ষ আৰু প্ৰত্যক্ষভাৱে সহায় সহযোগিতা আগবঢ়োৱা বিদ্যালয়ৰ পৰিচালনা সমিতি, মোৰ সহকৰ্মী তথা অভিভাৱক আৰু মোৰ অতি মৰমৰ ছাত্ৰ ছাত্ৰীসকললৈকে মোৰ আন্তৰিক ধন্যবাদ জনাই আজিৰ এই অনুষ্ঠানটি ইমানতে সামৰণি মাৰিছো। ধন্যবাদ।
Profuse thanks to you, sir, for making it a great evening for all of us. So it was really wonderful having you here. It was really a pleasure and delight having you here, sir. And once again, thank you so much for relenting to our request. And one more request I would like to make here, that in future also, please be kind to us whenever we invite you, for the sake of our students, of course. So thank you so much, sir.
I had a great time. Thank you for being an amazing audience. I really love the questions. And as regards the one that, if we can get on a video call later in one of these days, I'd be happy to guide students who need a little kind of clearing of doubts in terms of music. I'll be happy to do that.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. So I'll take care.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll take your leave.
Yeah.
Everybody, please have a great evening. Thank you.
Same to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.